Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl, Dr. Rhonda M. Lawson, and I want to welcome you to a very special edition of the Horizons Author Lounge. Normally we meet on Mondays, but today we're meeting on Sundays. So no, you didn't oversleep and miss work, and now you've skipped a whole different day. No, that didn't happen. We are actually filming the show a day early because we wanted to have a special discussion on men's health. I'm really wanting to send a shout out to my good friend Pamela Coleman, because she's the visionary behind this very special anthology, which you see on the screen right now, called Unspoken. It's okay not to be okay. And in this anthology, she's giving men a voice. Often men feel like they don't have a voice. With the advent of social media, there's been a lot of talk about what men should be doing and what they're not doing and so forth. And often men don't feel like they have space to talk about how they're really feeling. So today, like I said, is going to be a very special discussion. We're going to have a panel discussion with some of the authors who contributed to the anthology Unspoken. So I want to first thank you all for joining me. I'm going to ask you guys, if you have questions, if you have comments, get active in the comments. Put them in the comments, because we're going to try to jump to as many comments as we possibly can. But this is going to be an interactive discussion with some people who have some really deep thoughts on the subject. And we'll also be talking about their own projects and why they wanted to be a part of this specific project. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring on our guest. Our first guest is Mark Beausejour. He is the Black Cyrano. He is an author of, what is it, 6 books now?
7.
7 books. Oh my goodness, you've been busy. So 7 books, and he is a great writer. He takes his craft very seriously. So I was very happy to find out that he was going to be a part of this anthology project. And I'm really looking forward to reading the book and really digging down into your thoughts as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about what your piece in the book is, and then about your thoughts on mental health as a whole. And now also I would like to bring on Dedrick Brockington. Many of you know Dedrick. He is the Cookie Man. And this was his debut book. He just dipped his toe into being an author. So congratulations on becoming a published author. You are in some very good company. And so we're going to talk a little bit about you as well, and what you're doing, and about your thoughts with mental health. And so as we move throughout the show, there are going to be more people joining us, but we're going to get started with Mark and Dedrick. And then as other people pop in, we will bring them into the conversation. So welcome to both of you. And so before we jump into the conversation, I'd like for Mark, if you'd like to get started, tell us a bit about yourself, and then we'll move into Dedrick, and you can tell us about yourself as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rhonda. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Mark Beausejour. I am currently the author, novelist of the Black Cyrano series. And I'm actually currently residing in Atlanta, Georgia, although I am originally from Queens, New York, and born and raised there. So I'm currently living in Atlanta, and by daytime, I'm a technical support analyst. But by nighttime and 24/7, all the other hours, I'm a full-time author and novelist. And like I said, I've written 9 books total. 2 of them are self-published poetry books, and 7 of them are novels. So basically, My books range from a different area of topics. Talk about romance. I talk about social justice topics. Talk about sports drama, and then I also discuss crime novels and some of these novels that I've written. And when Pamela approached me to take part in her anthology, I jumped on the offer because number one, Pamela is one of the authors that is in the She Publishing family, like as far as collaboration. And Shanita actually, we've met through her, through Shanita, and then I wanted to try to participate in anthologies. I was already in Calinthia Miller's anthology about writing a love letter to ourselves, and I felt
Yeah.
like this will be a new challenge to be in this anthology to discuss men's mental health.
Okay. Okay. And well, thank you for doing that. And that actually did slip my mind that you were a part of Dr. Miller's anthology as well. So
Yes.
I think it's great when authors who are used to writing full-fledged novels take the time to write shorter pieces, especially shorter, meaningful pieces, like her anthology was, and this particular project as well. So
Yes.
thank you. I think it's a different type of writing because you have to get to the point very quickly. You can't
Yeah.
build it as much as you would in a regular novel. So I think
Yeah.
probably good exercise for you. You think?
Absolutely. It was a little more challenging because there's a certain number of words that you have to write, and you got to try to fit in all your thoughts in this limited word count because everyone has to get their point across. So it definitely put a little bit of pressure for me to kind of think think ahead of what I'm going to write, what I'm going to say, and then also reread my thoughts and make sure that I'm able to get my point across without using too much dialogue or too much verbiage in there. So but I like the challenge because I think it makes me a better writer, and
Absolutely.
I definitely think that as an author, as a writer, we have to always look to improve upon our craft. Like if you want to get better, you have to challenge yourself in different areas of writing. So I just took it as a challenge. And before I participated in Dr. Calinthia Miller and Miss Pamela Coleman's anthologies, I've never participated in an anthology. So, this was my first time taking part in this. So, the fact that it happened this year, which is the same time that I joined the Sheep Publishing family, was really great. So, I'm thankful for it.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think moving to She Publishing has been great for you. So congratulations on everything you've accomplished since making
Thank,
that move.
thank you, thank you.
So, Dedrick, if we can jump over to you, as I mentioned earlier, this is your debut publishing piece. Why did you want to? Well, before we get into that, tell us a bit about you. This is your debut publishing piece, but you've been active on social media for quite a while, and then you're also an entrepreneur.
I am. Thank you so much for first of all having me, and also this. Well, a little bit about myself. Of course, I'm affectionately known as the Cookie Man. I'm the owner of Mr. Crave's Cookies, where it's a party in your mouth. So, and being an entrepreneur, you know what I'm saying. We I kind of really wanted to dip my foot into the author space too, because I've always liked writing. I've always loved reading. But and I have a different project that I'm working on, but and you know about that project. That's but by the end of the year, that's going to be done. This particular project really struck a chord with me. Because again, when Miss Coleman approached me about being a part of it, I also have a podcast by the name of Soul Flow Conversations, and we had a couple of weeks where we had to actually do a continuance regarding men's mental health. And for me, it struck a chord because that's a very, very serious topic that isn't addressed enough. So I really was excited to be a part of this project.
Well, I know most people know, and it's no secret. You're my boo. We've been together for almost 3 years now, and we've had quite a few conversations about men's mental health and about relationships. And you often say you are not a relationship expert; you're a relationship advocate. Can you
Absolutely.
talk about the difference between the two?
Well, when people speak on expert, that means that you have a specialized knowledge on the topic, and you pretty much know almost everything there is to know about that topic because you specialize in that topic. For me, I don't know everything, right? So I don't proclaim to know everything, right? But I do support healthy relationships. I do support love. I do support those things. So when I advocate for love and for healthy interactions between the sexes, that's what that the difference is. Because if you go around saying you're an expert, that means you know pretty much you're the official go-to person on relationships. I'm not the official go-to person because I don't know everything, right? So and you can't possibly know everything about that subject. So, but as an advocate, I support healthy relationships. I support active listening and great communication. I support those things. So, and I really love love. You know what I'm saying? I love to see people loving each other correctly and properly. So that's the difference when it comes to that. And that's the reason why I started my podcast, because I wanted the communication between the sexes to be more clear. I wanted to have mature conversations about things that affect all of us and each other together. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it wasn't a surprise to me that you wanted to be a part of this, that you wanted to be a part of this project because it was right up your alley. So without any further ado, I'm just ready to jump in. And I think that what you said is a really good precursor into talking about mental health. Um, if, if you saw the promo that I did for the show, I said that often men don't feel that they have a voice. You're always expected to be strong. You're always expected to know exactly what to do in the right moment at the right time. You have to have $1 million in your pocket, or else you're not worthy to be in a relationship. You have to take them to the right place, because if you take them to a place like the Cheesecake Factory, you're going to be blasted all over social media. And so there's so much that goes into being a man. And you two are at different ages. Mark, I believe you're in your 30s.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
That's
and
right.
Patrick, you're 49.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit different age brackets. But I'm wondering, first of all, do you guys see things the same way when it comes to men's mental health? Do you feel like younger people have it harder, older people have it harder? Do you see things a little bit differently?
Oh, you want to take this, Dietrich, or you want me to go ahead and answer?
Uh,
Uh,
I'll answer after you go ahead. You can go ahead. You go ahead.
okay, cool. All right. So I guess it depends on which generation or which age bracket you're in, so to speak, that kind of shapes your perspective on how you see male mental health. For me, I see that uh, younger people, I think it's a little bit harder, and just I'm speaking from personal experience. It's a little bit harder because um, with the advent of, I guess, modern conveniences, coming into the technological age, you have a lot of resources available to us that may not have been available to those that were older that came before myself and before others. So I guess because people say, hey, you got access to a lot of resources, life shouldn't be much of a struggle. Things shouldn't be much of a struggle. But they don't understand sometimes having a lot of technology, having a lot of resources at your disposal doesn't always guarantee a quick fix or a quick resolution when it comes to male mental health.
Yeah.
Sometimes we still need help, we still need assistance, and we still need people that we can talk to whenever we deal with traumatic situations or issues dealing with trauma, issues dealing with depression, issues dealing with ADHD, and those other types of male mental health issues that we struggle with, especially as young black men. As young black men, especially as a young man myself, we're shaped by what we see on modern media. So we're shaped by who we watch on television. The music stars that we look up to, the
Mhm.
artists that we look up to, the movies that we watch. The music videos that we watch, that we listen to. So we have things that are shaping our perception, and everywhere that we see, they tell us, hey, you a man, you got to man up, so to speak, and you got to be able to deal with whatever comes your way. Like, you can't show weakness. We can't allow you to show weakness, because men don't show weakness, men don't cry. you know but it's very important to understand that we're human too. If you cut us, we bleed like everybody else. We get hurt like everybody else. We feel emotion like everybody else. If you're breathing. So everybody needs that support system. Everybody needs a place where, like, you can kind of express yourself. It doesn't matter what age group you are. I just think that really the modern day conveniences sort of, like I said, shapes perception on how male mental health is perceived these days.
You do you agree, Dedrick?
I do agree, and he touched on some very important aspects, because when you're dealing with the younger generations, you're dealing with social media, and I'm 49. We didn't always have social media. You know what I'm saying? We literally had to communicate person to person. We had to be personable. We had to actually be able to communicate effectively. And in this era of social media, everything is so surface deep. Everything is so everybody's affected by all of these entertainers, and everybody has an opinion, because everything is on social media. And because everybody has an opinion, you get opinions that are not healthy. You get toxic advice, and then you go out here and people are thinking that that's the reality. A lot of the times it's not the reality. So when you go out here and you're being superficial, and you're being, you have all this surface deep stuff, and like Mark said, we're expected to be cyborgs. We're expected to be robots, and just we don't feel anything. That's a myth, and people have to really understand that that's a myth. And in a lot of cases, we're a whole lot more sensitive than some women can be, because we take a lot on our backs, and we don't bring that to our significant others or our family, because we're trying to handle it and shoulder it. Because if we show any weakness, people have been taught that, oh, you're a weak man if you show any emotions, or if you cry, or whatever the case is. We're not robots, and whatnot. We are human, and a lot of the times, unfortunately, when men see that our emotions are going to be mishandled, we shut down. We fall back. We won't put it out there anymore, because we've seen how people handle that. So that's one of those things. And with this younger generation, they're so desensitized, and to be that desensitized, you can't really express yourself how you need to express yourself in a healthy manner, because now you're going to be judged for being soft, or something like that. So it's very very difficult when it comes to the younger generation.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. One of my favorite shows to watch, as you probably know, is Married at First Sight. And a few years ago, this was before I met you, actually. So I don't even know if you saw this season. I got him watching all the reality shows, Mark. But but there was a season where a young lady was about to marry, at first sight, and somebody sent her the Instagram account of the man that she was supposed to marry. So she had seen him. She heard him talking, and she felt that she wasn't sure she wanted to marry him, because she thought that he was too emotional, and she didn't want an emotional man. But she went through with the marriage, and then as they were talking, he admitted to her that he sometimes suffers from depression, and then she started having doubts again. She wasn't sure if she wanted to be responsible for helping this man through his depression. So when we see, they wound up getting married, and they wound up actually staying married after the show. I'm not sure if they're still married to this day, but I asked you both this question because is that kind of almost true to reality, where men often don't want to really admit that they have certain struggles because they don't want it to be held against them, or they don't want it to be thrown back in their faces. I'll start with you, Mark. Have you seen something like, have you seen that or experienced that?
So I have experienced that. I guess what it comes down to is that I feel like at times, especially in past relationships, I always have a fear of showing vulnerability. See, and that's the key word right there, vulnerability. A lot of men don't want to show vulnerability, because when you show vulnerability, that definitely opens an opportunity up for people to criticize, for you to be regarded as someone less than. I guess with me not wanting to show vulnerability, I guess I always felt like I had to put on a mask, put on a facade.
Mm,
I had to front, so to speak, and act like somebody that I wasn't. And I'm sure I'm not the only one in that. A lot of friends I've spoken to felt like they had to do the same thing, where they have to kind of act out or try to be somebody that they're not. And it's even worse when you know that the character that they're portraying to you is not how they really are. Like, dude, I know you. Like, you don't really act this way when it's just me and you. But when you're
mm,
around her, you acting like you somebody else. Like, come on, bro. So a lot of times it's just masking, maybe it's masking some self-esteem issues. Maybe it's masking hurt. Maybe they're grieving over somebody or something. So you never know. A lot of times when us as men are putting on a facade or a front or a mask, so to speak, sometimes it's hiding really who we really are, like our emotions. It's hiding our true intentions. It's hiding some past guilt, some past hurt, and sometimes it could be hiding self-esteem situations, self-esteem issues. A lot of us, like when I was younger, I used to, you know, wanted to. My parents used to buy the tapes for Disney like channel and all the characters involved.
yeah,
And I used to always see the white prince would always get the princess at the end of the story. It's never the side character or the token
right.
character. It's always the prince got to be perfect. He got to be chiseled, got to be tall, handsome, hair flowing in the wind, all that. And then the girl gets him at the end. You know what I'm saying? So it's what I grew up on. And originally, I didn't tell a lot of people about this. I didn't tell, so I'm disclosing this now. There used to be a time where I was a little bit ashamed of who I was, like as a black person. Like because we never end up with a happy ending. There's no happily ever
Mhm.
after for us, or what I perceived back then. It's not until I grew up and then I started to really dig into my consciousness as a black man and who I am, that I started to take more pride in who I was. But not without experiencing some tough times, and some trials, obviously, through my life. So
You said a mouthful there.
yeah.
And you're right. I used to read all of those fairy tales, and
Hmm.
often when you read those fairy tales, even the women are made to be perfect.
Hmm.
Their skin is white, their lips are perfectly red. You
Hmm.
know, and we didn't look like that. So yeah,
Hmm.
as much as we love a good fairy tale and a good fairy tale ending,
Hmm.
it kind of we did feel left out of the conversation.
Hmm.
So that Dedrick, would you like to touch on that a bit as well?
Absolutely. There's something when we were having these discussions, there's something that I would say, and I spoke directly to women because a lot of the times, when it comes to transparency, I would hear women, or I would see on social media where people would post, well, why don't men open up? Like, why are men are so closed off? Why is he holding all these emotions in, or holding back? Because he's supposed to be able to talk to me and this. So I submit this. When it comes to men, our mental health is extremely extreme. We compartmentalize very, very well. The problem is that what women need to understand is that if a man is trying to be open with you and he's trying to be transparent with you and express his emotions, his thoughts, his vision, his whatever it is that he's going to share with you, please understand that you're the person that he chose to share that with. Now, the moment you mishandle that information, the moment you mishandle that, we're compartmentalizing. We're taking inventory. We're observing what's happening. Because the moment you dismiss, you deflect, and then you push your narrative and say, well, oh, that's ridiculous or whatever, you need to understand that what's going to happen is he's not going to open up to you to that extent anymore. You have to really understand that. And then now the very person that he is supposed to trust with that information, he's supposed to be able to just let you know how he actually feels and who he really is. And like what Mark was saying, sometimes some guys have to wear that mask because other people don't know how to handle the information he just gave them. My thing is once you misuse or mistreat the information that a man gives you as a woman, you won't have to worry about him sharing those things. And pretty soon your relationship is going to be over because he's just going to compartmentalize to the point to where when you ask him how he's doing, I'm good, I'm cool. He's going to give you these short answers. He's going to give you enough for you to just shut up and go about your business. But he's not going to trust you with real information. He's not going to trust you with the things, the realities that he's going through. And that's dangerous when you're in a relationship, because if you have to dismiss what he's saying because what you feel is more important. See, this is not a conversation. This is not a competition. You're not competing. His feelings and emotions are just as important as yours. You want your emotions to be acknowledged. Well, guess what? It's the same for men. We just handle things in different ways. That doesn't mean that we don't have emotions or feelings or things that we need acknowledged too. So when you do all that dismissal and deflection and stuff like that, you have to understand that he's taking inventory and he's seeing how you handle that information. So if you can't handle a little bit of information, he's not going to give you the rest of himself. And that's very, and that is when the man starts to internalize things, and then it leads to other things too.
That's called compartmentalization. When you compartmentalize everything, that's what we tend to do as males. Is we tend to compartmentalize everything. Like we take notes, we take inventory, and then we stack it up. Now the question is, how much can we bear as men?
Absolutely.
How much more can we take? And how much will it take before we go overload or overboard?
Yeah.
Because if it gets to the point where we take in too much, then we're going to tend to, some bad things can happen, and it could lead to some problems, both physically, mentally, emotionally.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are talking with some of the authors, the new anthology, Unspoken. This is the book. And all of these men talked about mental health from a Black man's perspective. So one of the other authors just joined us. I don't know how to pronounce that. I don't know if it's Qjad or QJAD, but I know your name is Quincy. So I want to go by what your preferred name is.
My name is Quincy James, and it's pronounced QJAD. It's supposed to be like initials, like especially for poems or whatnot.
Wonderful, wonderful. So tell us a bit about yourself, please, and then we're going to just bring you right into the conversation.
Well, I'm about 33 years old. I'm from Michigan. I've been in Texas for about 9 years now, and I say this is like a new journey. This is something new for me. I don't normally do podcasts or anything, so this is all new. I come from Michigan. I got on TikTok because I had a bad accident, car accident and whatnot. I've had some vast misfortunes in the last few years, so I got on TikTok as a way to express myself and do something instead of battling with myself all day, pretty much.
Is that how you got into writing poetry, or were you writing poetry before then?
Poetry started when I was in 6th grade. We had a teacher by the name of Miss Jordan. She like I guess one of us came up with an idea to like do talent or whatnot every Friday, and I started writing like 4 sentence poem or whatnot. So and that's normally how QJD came about. Instead of when they said you write poems, everybody has a signature. So I thought to myself, what better signature than my 4 initials?
There you
That's
go.
that's dope. I actually started at that age too. Actually, I was actually around 11 or 12 when I started writing poetry too. So same age.
And I think
Yeah.
that's our exploratory ages.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, why did you decide to be a part of this anthology?
Actually, I was brought in on it. Somebody reached out to me about it, and I thought to myself, well, that sounds pretty cool. You know, I've never necessarily got a chance to, like be a writer or anything like that. So that sounds pretty freaking cool to be able to share my perspective or the way I see things with other people. That's pretty cool.
So, what we were just talking about is, well, we were talking about men's mental health in general. And the part of the conversation where you came in is where we were discussing how often men will wear a mask and not express their true feelings because often when they do, those feelings or those emotions can be mishandled and they're thrown back at them or they're weaponized against them. And so what
It
happens,
does. And
the
no mean to cut you off, but I understand that. I truly do. It's about the perception. Like you may say, try to give a person encouragement words, but the way you come off or the statement you make to them, it feels like they're probably being attacked, or you're not understanding where they're coming from, or you're not understanding the problem. So they're going to mishandle the information in the way it came across their ears. And I've dealt with that like lots and lots of times. Like I can sit there and form my own opinion about the way I saw the situation, and then somebody else will turn around and be like, "No, that's not how it was," or "You took it differently." So now I'm conflicted with the whole thing, like the whole situation, the whole perception. So now I'm not even sure which way to take it, even though at the end of the day I'm still going to think the way I think.
do you think that and anybody can answer this, do you think that's a struggle between men and women? Because I can tell you from a woman's perspective, often we are afraid to express our true feelings because if we do, we're considered weak or we're considered easy or we're considered thirsty. So often we hold back. So if we're holding back, and then the man who's in our life is also holding back because he doesn't want his feelings to be weaponized. Where do we meet in the middle?
Sounds like we all too used to being scared of being themselves. Because
Yeah.
the moment you show who you truly are. So for those handful of those who actually agree, like the vibe, see where you coming from, you gonna have that 1 out of 10 people who just gotta go against what you said, who or just gotta go against how you feel because they just don't see it that way. Which would be perception again, because depending on how they come off about it, they just might want to be part of the conversation. But the way that things are taken, we'll never get to that point of it. So it starts with yourself. If you want to meet in the middle, sometimes you got to start with yourself and be able to communicate, which we fall off on too. Like a lot of people get into that phase of being scared of to show themselves, so now they're scared to communicate. Now you got to say it the way you say it, so now they're gonna take it the way they take it again, and we back to this. It's like insanity, pretty much. Same thing over and over.
Right,
With the
right.
same result.
Hmm.
So
Well,
it
Martin,
starts with yourself.
do you want to touch on that as well?
yeah. So, well, the first part is when it comes to women and what you just said, you got to stop having conversations with yourself and agreeing with yourself.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is that instead of having all these assumptions, right, with the person that you are, with that man, you go to that man and you have an actual conversation. Don't talk at him, actually talk to him. And then listen, actually be quiet long enough to let him express himself. And then that way you can get the full idea of what he's feeling or what he's thinking or something like that. Because sometimes you can get the wrong idea just because of he's being silent, or just because you might perceive that he's thinking one way And honestly, he's just focusing on whatever it is he's doing, but you're in your head about what you think is going on. Instead of thinking what you're thinking, actually have the conversation so you can get clarity. Because a lot of the times when you actually have a conversation, it isn't even what you thought it was. It's something totally different that is not even related. And it can be and a lot of the times you got to stop being scared, because you got to think about it. Both of you guys have to be vulnerable to each other, right? Who's to say he's not scared or afraid either? But when you have a meeting of the minds and have a conversation, like a real conversation where you speak or you ask a question, then you listen. He asks a question, then he listens.
Well,
Because
somebody has to make that first step, though, because if both of you are not trusting the other person enough to show your real feelings, who's going to make that first step?
That should be established early in a relationship. I think that early in a relationship, you guys gotta make an agreement to be transparent with one another, and I think transparency is important in any relationship. So if you don't come up, like, whoever you meet, if you meet a new woman or a new man, if you're not transparent with them from the jump, from get go, then there's not going to be any communication, and then neither of you will know what the other is thinking. Neither of you will know what the other one is struggling with. So it's important to be transparent, to be open, because you never know. Maybe there's a reason why. Okay, maybe your girlfriend or your wife might not like to go to this store because she had a traumatic event that took place in that store years ago. You didn't know about that, but that's why you develop a transparency in the beginning, and you find out what she likes, what she don't like. You get into conversation, and you get to know her, and vice versa. Because if there's no conversation, if there's not any rapport set between you guys, then it's not going to go anywhere. That relationship is DOA. So basically, transparency is important, to start the conversation.
And transparency is definitely the key.
I agree.
So,
I agree as well.
if we can jump over, what exactly did you talk about in the book? I'll start with you, Q. What was your subject in your chapter of the book?
Called it the BWX, the box. It's a battle within yourself, like solving for yourself. Like the question, like you said, how do you meet in the middle? You start with yourself. Like if you have that battle going on, you're not going to be able to understand any other communication or perception or anything like that if you can't work on your own. But that's basically what it pretty much says: the battle with yourself, and the list of things you can do to stay out of it, and reach those who don't even know what mental health is, or even know what the word coping with mental health is. Basically breaking it down like that.
Okay, makes sense. Mark?
So my chapter, actually, I took my readers on, like, basically a part of history that I seldom talked about. So I took them to my past as a boy, as a child, because I felt that was a time where I had my most traumatic moments. So in my chapter of the book, I actually talked about my early years in grammar school, where I was constantly bullied. And when people talk about bullying, they think it's bullying, like you have cyberbullying now, and maybe you have a few, if any, fisticuffs at the school. It wasn't like that for me. So the school that I went to when I was younger, it happened after I moved from Catholic school to public school. So not a lot of people are familiar with that. When you go from Catholic school, which is straight laced, a lot of rules, nobody misbehave, nothing like that, and you go to public school in the city, you realize very quickly that those kids are different, two different worlds. And I wasn't aware of that early on. I had to learn that the hard way. First day of school, I tried to befriend someone.
Mm.
Obviously, I don't know how he took it. He must have thought I was coming to mess with him. I wasn't. I was just trying to be nice. And I got jumped. A couple of guys came, held me, and he wailed away. I remember that was day one. And since then, every day, and then there were times where I would tell my parents what was going on, especially my father, and my father would say, "You gotta stand up for yourself, defend yourself, this and that." But I didn't know where to start with that. So every day it was like the same thing. He would give me a hard time. It got to the point where the bullying physically got so bad, I had to try to search for other ways to get out of school because these guys will be looking for me. And it seems like every year it was a new bully. Like when one went away, another one came. And I think partly it was due because maybe I was younger, I was smaller, and I was skinnier, so maybe that's probably what made them feel like, hey, we can pick on this kid. And people don't understand the long term effects of that. So because that happened throughout my elementary school, um, middle school, not so much, and high school was better. But because that happened, I developed a lot of trust issues with people. I didn't trust nobody. I couldn't even hug nobody. Like if I didn't know you, I'm not gonna. 9 times out of 10, I'm not gonna talk to you. I'm not gonna open
Mm,
up to you. It was hard for me to hug people. It was hard for me to, like, literally, I was mute to the point where even sometimes guidance counselors and people thought there was something wrong with me because I wouldn't talk. So I was just so quiet. So basically, that what I experienced back in grade school, that did have long term effects. So I actually explain about that in my book and go kind of deep into that. And that's the first time where I actually opened up like that to the public because as an author, a lot of my readers know me as Black Cyrano, the author that writes characters that are fictionalized, you know, fictional characters dealing with real situations in life. But not too many people are privy to the fact that, you know, some of those events that the characters went through, some of the places that they stopped by, some of the settings that the characters kind of travail through, that's some of it is based on how I grew up, especially in the preacher's web. You know, the corner stores, the schools, the kids, all of that was really based off of memory and how I remember things were growing up. So it was really difficult for me, and it was an adjustment. So finally, I got to the point where I if it wasn't for my faith, and then if it wasn't for having people that I could talk to, I really feel like some the situations that I got myself in, it could have ended up tragic, in some
mm.
cases because I've gotten to points where I've almost lost my life on 3 separate occasions due to the constant bullying. Like it got that bad. So, um, and yeah, so that's why it's very important that men open up and kind of try to let other men know, hey, you might have went through this in your life, and then maybe because of that, it hardened you later on in life. Maybe now you grew up to become a person that didn't take no mess, or someone that, hey, I'm gonna fight anyone, or you become quote unquote territorial because look, I'm not gonna allow you to mess up my space anymore. I'm not gonna allow you to get in my way. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to I sort of become kind of aloof, kind of introverted more so than ever. So I go deep into that in this book. So that's what readers will find from me is that I open up personally with them, which I haven't done before.
I think that's a great point that you're making. Is sometimes we judge people based on what we see today, and we don't think about what what that person may have gone through in the past that has shaped them to be who they are today. So it goes back to what all of you gentlemen were saying about making sure you have that conversation so you can really understand the person that you're dealing with. Know what they've been through in the past, or what has shaped them. What is their surroundings that has made them see the world the way that they see the world. So thank you for that moment of vulnerability and trusting us to share that with us, because it really sheds a lot of light.
Thank you.
Dedrick, if you're going to talk a bit about what you discussed in your chapter.
The name of my chapter is No, Really, Brother, How Are You? And I say that because every day we always pass by people and say, "Hey, how you doing?" But it's a greeting. It's just used as a greeting. In my chapter, I started it out with that because a lot of the times, for me, when I ask someone that, it's not just a greeting. If they really have something to express, I really want to know, how are you? Like, if I'm reaching out and I say, hey, how you doing? Don't just say fine if you're not fine. It was stated before, it's okay to not be okay. But make sure you express it in some kind of way so you're not internalizing that. Make sure you have an outlet, because a lot of the times men don't have an outlet. So now more so than ever, you're seeing men's groups, so where they can get together and express themselves without judgment, without people cutting them off, without people misdirecting what they're saying. Now there are groups and men's clubs or whatever that you want to call them, that really caters to men really just really having an outlet, just a safe space. And I think that's very important. And in my chapter, I touched on some life experiences where it could have really changed me for the worse. And because I had an understanding of what forgiveness was, because I had an understanding that the next woman, so a lot of the times we hear women talk about what they've gone through when it comes to men and stuff like that. And a lot of the times people don't really think about the fact that men go through things too. Men are also cheated on. Men are also lied to. There's a lot of different things that goes on that affects a man internally. And a lot of the times, and we've spoken on this, all of the gentlemen, to where, a lot of the times if we compartmentalize these things and we tuck it away somewhere. But we don't understand that it's almost like plaque. It's that buildup. That buildup will cause weakness. That buildup will cause collapse. And just like with your teeth, that buildup will cause collapse. So if you do not treat it, if you do not address it, it will continue to cause erosion and stuff like that. And a lot of the times people glaze over how a man feels, and he can literally look like he's not well. But if it's not about them, they don't care. And I'm not saying that's everybody, but in a lot of cases, men have traumas that they deal with too. Men have childhood things that they deal with too. Men have relationship things that they deal with as well. Family things that they deal with as well, but they can't express themselves because of the dynamics. So, and with that, within my chapter, I just kind of express different scenarios that are very real scenarios. Where if I did not have a proper, if I didn't have a healthy family structure, and that means my aunties, my uncles, my grandma who raised me, my grandfather, my other grandma on my dad's side, if I didn't have all those healthy examples and different things, I may not have been able to handle things when they came up, because I learned how to forgive. I learned what it meant to forgive. I learned how to process my emotions rather than lash out at someone or something like that. So it's a lot when it comes to growing mentally and maturely, because some people are emotional toddlers. They don't know how to handle their emotions at all. And and then they put it off on someone else, and there's zero accountability. First things first, like Q was saying, it starts with self. And that's my word, is accountability. You have to be accountable because you can lash out at somebody and affect that person and stuff like that, and you don't even care because it's about what you're feeling. So part of my chapter, my chapter just consisted of a lot of those type of scenarios and situations, to where it brings some awareness to the fact that men do go through certain things and it affects us in a certain way. And whatnot. And when you ask somebody how they're doing, sometimes you might want to be prepared for the answer. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah. Yep. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to get back in. It kind of kicked me out,
Uh-oh.
and I can still hear y'all, but it kind of kicked me out.
yeah, we can hear you too.
We
Oh
hear
wait,
you.
no,
You hear
no,
us?
actually,
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
there
I
you go.
didn't
you're
hear
good now. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see the video thing. It didn't
Oh,
pop up
okay.
before. My apologies. My apologies.
Oh,
I
you're
was-
fine. You're fine. So the link to the book is on the screen right now. If you click the link, you can go to the book. You can download it. I believe it's in an ebook form as well as print. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
and on
Okay.
Amazon.
Yes, it's on Amazon. So I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to download this book. These are real conversations that men are having. And I want to thank all three of you for just being vulnerable and trusting me as a female hostess to still be honest with me and not think that I'm going to sit here and challenge you and start an argument. Because I know sometimes these types of conversations can go that way. This is not that type of show. I wanted to be able to provide a space for all of you to be able to discuss mental health in a very healthy way. So I appreciate all of you doing that. Now, with all of that said, I do appreciate the fact that you're vulnerable in the book. I mean, when I was talking with Pam, and I'm hoping that she'll log in for a couple minutes before the end of the show because we're almost toward the end of the hour already. But when I was talking with her, she said that there were some chapters that made her cry. She was reading them, and she actually found tears coming from her eyes because all of you were so honest in the way that you wrote your chapters. And so, for me, that's something that's very valuable. When people are reading this, they're actually experiencing your true emotions and your true feelings. And I touch on that because, and I mentioned this earlier in the show, with social media being the way it is, and men having to make a lot of money, or having to take them to the right place, or having to dress a certain way, having to look a certain way. Do you feel that often your true self conflicts with the stereotype that's being designed on social media?
Every day.
I do.
Every yeah.
Like I've been told at some point, like somebody has also told me, like, yeah, you are somebody, you'll be a star one day. It just won't be here because apparently
Mhm.
the image that they set and then the way that I go about things or whatnot, it's not gonna fit. So it's
Mhm.
basically like telling me I wasn't a fit for them, which is the way I took it. But that's pretty much the way they said it. Like, you don't fit the image, so we wouldn't even go with that. And like you said before about once again about the true self, they make people scared about it. Like I said, it makes people scared about it, and that just it's insanity. It goes back to it, like I'm saying, they're repeating the same freaking part about the first part about the conversation. It's insanity. So unless I can get out of that, how would I be able to go forward? I'm sorry, I'm nervous too, so please forgive me.
You're good.
Fine, you're fine.
You're good.
Man, this like the first time I've actually ever like social media anything. So, and I
Wow.
do appreciate y'all even giving me the floor to even
Yeah.
give me the room to even do that, which is what I also speak about in my chapter too. Like
Well,
sometimes a person like me will feel nervous about being comfortable or vulnerable about speaking about something, but at the same time they'll make you feel like you have to show up so you
Mm,
can express that.
Yes,
Or
you might have to get him
or
on the flow conversations.
yes,
right,
yes.
or it's from like a tough love perspective to tell you to shell it because they know how bad people are out here. And the moment that you do become your true self, they don't want to see you out there like that.
Hmm.
But no, you hit the nail on the head with that, and we've often seen it where fathers will want to toughen up their sons by telling them to man up, stop crying, don't do this, don't do that, and so and I know I feel that often as a woman where I don't feel like I can show my true feelings because I don't want to be seen as weak, and I think men have that doubly as hard because you're not allowed to show weakness anywhere. And anytime that you show your true feeling, somebody's telling you to man up, stop being in your feelings, stop crying, you're too soft. And often you're just trying to tell people how you really feel. You're not trying to
mhm,
be soft.
Hmm.
mhm,
They take it as
mhm.
time consuming. They say it's wasting too much time. Like for those who realize that you want to get a move on about your mental or want to change how you feel and all that, you sitting there talking about it for the next 45, 2 hours is wasting time. So that makes them feel like you got more time to get up and get out there and live your life and figure it out that way instead of sitting here worrying about it, wallowing in what you can be, who you are, and this, that, and the third. And now you done looked up 7 days later and you still stumped over the same freaking question that they asked you last week.
Well, now
You know,
I do have to admit that I don't have any problem with a person getting out what they want to get out. But if every time you're talking to me, all you're doing is talking about the problem, and you've never come with a solution, and you're not open to hearing a solution, I do get a little bit frustrated, and that could be a toxic trait of mine. But I don't want you to be so comfortable with the problem that you just talk about the problem all the time, or you talk about what you could be, or what people aren't letting you do. I want to see you either come up with a solution, ask for a solution. Maybe we can work together to find a solution, but it shouldn't just be venting, because when you're venting about the same thing, and like I said, it could be my toxic trait. I start to see it as, okay, you're telling me the problem. What are we going to do about it? Are you going to be a thermostat, or are you going to be a thermometer?
Oh, I
Because
like that.
yeah, exactly. Because if
some
you
never
a
some
thermometer,
never learn how to figure out how to be the solution. So they wouldn't be able to know how to tell you that. Like, cause if all they came from or if all they ever learned was somebody to talk about the problem, they'll never be able to figure out the solution.
but
Sometimes
they
some
don't have to
people,
figure it out by themselves, though.
right,
Because
which
I
which is
don't. Yeah, I don't
which is
think
why
we have to
some people
figure it out
some
by
are harder to get to on that aspect. That's all. They
ourselves.
just a little bit harder to get to. Like some people have to have the patience for those. Like the
Mhm.
same thing isn't for everybody. Like that person may, like you said, may be getting on you about the problem, and somebody else is sitting there listening to it and going, I got an easier way of saying that or easier way of doing that. It's all about the perception. Some things is not for everybody.
Yeah.
Mark, Dedrick, you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean what y'all was saying was spot on. I want to say to QJAD, I'm proud of you for taking that step out there, bro. I'm proud. I'm really proud of you. So keep on keeping on, bro.
Yeah.
I
As
do,
my
Yeah.
I
as my
do, I
friends
do want
told
to
me
say that.
before, it's a one day at a time type thing. So I'm gonna take that and build off of it. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that
Absolutely.
too. I really do.
Like I'm gonna be honest before you end. So my chapter, it took me a lot to even submit that to Pamela or for the book. Like I really had to stop and think, am I really about to tell the world about this?
Yeah,
Because like I said, outside of my immediate family and maybe my brothers, and I really haven't told this story to a lot of people. So I
right.
was I was reluctant to really share it at first because I was kind of afraid that people, my readers especially, would perceive me differently. But I think it takes greater courage for me to express myself and for readers to know who the man is behind the mirror, so to speak, and who I really am, and know that I'm a genuine man. I'm still, you know, still someone that feels, someone that can hurt, someone that you know had a lot of baggage to deal with back then. And like Diedrich said, if it wasn't for a strong support system or people that I've watched growing up that dealt with these type of situations, I wouldn't be able to get through what I have dealt with. And it took years of prayer, therapy, in some cases, and just to get over what I went through in my younger years because of the bullying episodes that happened. And some days were some days I remember more than others, but it was just, man, you'll never know how happy I was when I got out of that school. Like when I got out of
Yeah.
PS50, man, it was like the happiest. I was like, man, I'm never coming back there. I'm done. It was over. Like that's how I felt,
Well,
and
Mark, one thing I remember from when you participated in my event a couple years ago is the immense pride and that feeling, because it just emanated. that feeling that you had that you were able to stand on that stage and address high school kids.
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
and you said, I remember when I was sitting in your seat, and now I get to stand here and talk to you guys. And
Yeah.
I think it was almost a full circle moment for you at that
It,
moment.
it was, and many of those assemblies that I sat through was at that school that I experienced many of those traumatic moments. So yeah, that right there was big. Just being able to speak, even though it was elementary school where I dealt with all of that, but that is a high school, so different age groups,
Yes.
but still, the vibe was still the same. Because they used to bring guest speakers all the time to speak to us, like career people. So they used to bring other authors. They used to bring musicians. They used to bring other just prominent people used to come by and speak to us. So that's why it brought a lot of memories and kind of inspired me that, hey, I can grow beyond my situation. I can
Yes.
elevate myself to something more. So that was inspiring. That's why it was a full circle moment for me. But yeah, you're right.
Well, unfortunately, we've hit the end of the hour. But before I leave, I would love for you all to give me one final thought. And in that thought, if you can share one thing that you feel that people can do to better understand men's mental health, and that could be to the woman in your life, it could be to the people you work with. But what is that one thing that people can do to understand, to respect your mental health?
Well, the first thing that I think people should do is we need to destroy all the negative stigma that surrounds male mental health. So we need to begin to acknowledge that men's mental health is a real issue and is something that we need to have more discussions about. Because if you don't talk about a problem, okay, or talk about an illness, how are you going to develop a cure? How are you going to work yourself towards healing? And that's the thing. Everybody needs healing. Men, women, everyone involved. So we need to destroy that negative stigma and then talk about mental health more and talk about the effects of it, because there's physical effects too. You know,
Yes.
ADHD, depression. Um, a lot of men's lives are shortened too. Like our lifespan are shortened because of the stress that we deal with because of negative male mental health. A lot of things that we deal with in life. The injustices that we deal in the streets.
Mhm.
The stresses of our families, our relationships. A lot of people, need to kind of understand that it's a serious issue for us, and we need to, in order to discuss a solution, we need to acknowledge that there's a problem and it needs to be discussed.
Amen. Thank you for that, Mark. Dedrick?
Um, First and foremost, I want to say thank you, Dr. Rhonda and Pamela, Ms. Coleman. Thank you guys so much for y'all being women doing this, because it means a lot. It means a whole lot for you all to acknowledge this. And as far as the solutions and stuff like that, first, practice active listening. That's the first thing. The next thing is acknowledge what is being said to you. Um, the next thing is process what's being said to you, not just here to respond. Like listen and process what's being said to you, and lastly, just don't diminish what's being said, because it's a serious thing. So when men are opening up to you, listen, literally, actively listen to gather
Yes.
what is being said, and that's pretty much what I wanted to say. And once again, thank you very much for giving us the platform to express ourselves. Thank you, Miss Coleman, for your amazing project, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
Thank you. Q.
I want to say thank you too. I do appreciate it. This is, like I said, this is something new and a big opportunity. So
Great.
I really do appreciate it. I want to say, give yourself time to figure it out.
Mm.
In this world where where everybody tell you time waits for nobody, and you have to figure this out, and you have to figure it out. Give yourself time to figure it out.
Yes, sir.
Even if somebody's on your head saying, "Oh, well, you got this," or you pressured or something, somewhere in that madness in your world, give yourself time to figure it out.
Mm,
Because if you don't, then you're gonna beat yourself up about the road that you're about to take.
mm,
We're
Yes.
just gonna go down the line of everything we just sat there and talked about, and it's gonna go right back to the insanity, right back to square one, which
yes,
is
sir.
something that I've always had a habit of doing. To kind of beat myself up. People always say, "Oh, you're doing good. You're doing what you're supposed to," but I feel like I could be doing more. So give yourself time to figure it out.
Amen. Thank you for that. Gentlemen, thank you all for trusting me to come onto this space and to
Thank you.
discuss this. I really enjoyed the conversation. It was very insightful. I was hoping that Pamela could join us, but she said she was having some trouble logging on. So I don't know if you saw the note that was on the screen. She said she wanted to thank all of you for participating in the book and that she really appreciates you. And I agree. Thank you all for being a part of the show tonight. God bless you all. I hope that you will continue this journey of writing and discussing these serious issues, because that's the only way we're going to be able to reach understanding, and that's not just through men and women, but also with each other,
Yes.
with men talking to each other. So thank you for that. Um, Once again, I will put the link and the book on the screen. The name of the book is Unspoken. It's okay not to be okay. An anthology of a Black man's view on mental health. Pamela James Coleman was the visionary behind the book, but these gentlemen, along with quite a few others, were the ones who put the thoughts into the book. So please go to Amazon. The link is on the screen. And download this book, order this book, because there are some great thoughts in here. So I'm looking forward to reading the rest of the books. I did, of course, read Dedrick's, and I want to read everybody else's as well. So I will be ordering the book myself very, very soon. That's all I really have for this week, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of the show. And I just want to remind you, normally the show is on Mondays. So next week, the show will be back to its regular day, which will be on Monday. And if you want to know who is going to be on next week, I got you. Next week, we are going to have Shakir Rashan and Victor McLaughlin. You do not want to miss this episode, because I'm telling you, these gentlemen are going to bring it as they always do. So make sure you tune in next Monday, June 17th. And if you were in the DMV, tomorrow I am going to be participating in what's called Story Extreme, which is oral storytelling. It's going to be taking place in Alexandria. Tickets are only $15. It's from 7 to 9 p.m. So I will be telling a really interesting story that you all need to hear about people who make assumptions based on how a person looks and where they're from. So I'll be
Oh,
talking a lot about that. Yes. So I hope you guys, if you're in the DMV area, that you can turn out for that. And then lastly, I have re-released my mystery novella, Trust. It's called Trust. It's about unfortunately, I hate to tell y'all this when we've had such an insightful discussion, but it's about a man who plays with a couple of women's hearts. Somebody kills the man. Now we have to figure out who actually did it. So
I read that book, yo. I'm still tripping over it. Now, I am though. She knows I'm still tripping over that.
yeah, he gave me a very interesting review, and I appreciate that. So here's the link. The link is on the screen. And also in the chat, if you would like to order that book, I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. So that is all we have for this week, guys. Thank you once again for being a part of the show. Thank you all for supporting the show. We will be doing a replay tomorrow night in case you missed any part of this tonight. I want you guys to share this conversation, because so many people need to hear the words that were spoken tonight. So many people need to hear these thoughts. There are a lot of people who probably have these thoughts and did not feel safe enough to express what you all expressed tonight. So thank you once again for being a part of the show. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with me. Let's continue the journey. Let's stay in touch. I'm here to support. I love you guys, and you can't do nothing about it, as my girl Sharon Jenkins says. So you guys have a wonderful evening. God bless you, and good
You
night.
too.